You used me to forget. Bai Lu. Shen Yue walks out on Dylan Wang during couples therapy. The room was silent, the kind of silence that weighs heavier than 1,000 screams. And then Shen Yue said it. You used me to forget. Bai Lu. The therapist froze. Dylan looked like he'd been shot. And just like that, everything collapsed. The session that shattered everything. For weeks, rumors swirled that Dylan Wang and Shen Yue's marriage, once the envy of the industry, was unraveling behind closed doors. No posts. No red carpets. No interactions. Only distance, tension, and silence. But no one expected this. A desperate attempt to fix what was already bleeding. Couples therapy. Quietly scheduled. Strictly confidential. But something went terribly wrong. A leaked audio file, just under 5 minutes, took over the internet like wildfire. And it started like this. Therapist, can you both tell me why you're here today? Shen Yue, because he looks at me, and sees her. That was the beginning of the end. He sleeps beside me but dreams of her. According to insider sources close to the therapist, the session was meant to be civil, calm, even healing. But 20 minutes in, Shen Yue broke. She described waking up night after night to find Dylan sitting by the window, his back turned, eyes empty. He doesn't say her name, she said, voice cracking. But I see it. In how he walks. In how he zones out. In how he touches me like I'm something fragile, something temporary. Then she added. He sleeps beside me, but dreams of her. The therapist reportedly tried to guide the conversation gently toward resolution, but Dylan didn't speak. Until Shen Yue said it. Just admit it. You married me because she wouldn't beg you to stay. The moment he couldn't deny it anymore. Witnesses say Dylan remained quiet for a full minute. When he finally spoke, his voice was a whisper. I thought I could move on, he said. I thought choosing peace would fix what she broke. Shen Yue stared at him, stunned. That's what I am to you, she asked. Peace. Not love. He didn't answer. She stood up. The therapist asked her to sit, to take a breath. But Shen Yue shook her head slowly and said the words that would go on to break headlines across the country. You used me to forget. Bai Lu. Then she walked out. No shoes. No bag. Just tears streaming down her face. Dylan didn't follow. A history written in shadows. To understand the weight of that moment, you have to rewind to the years of rumors, glances, and nearly confessed feelings between Dylan Wang and Bai Lu. They were electric on screen, but even more charged off it. BTS footage often showed Dylan watching Bai Lu rehearse, adjusting her microphone for her, brushing hair from her face when no one asked him to. Once, during an awards show, Bai Lu was asked if she believed in soulmates. She smiled, glanced at Dylan across the room, and said, I did once. But just months later, she disappeared from the spotlight. And Dylan began showing up everywhere with Shen Yue. The sudden shift raised questions, but no answers came. Until the wedding. The wedding that felt like a funeral. People clapped, one anonymous guest recalled. But you could feel it. Something was off. He wasn't present. Insiders claimed that Dylan had been moody and distant for weeks before the ceremony. Some said he cancelled the honeymoon 3 times. Others said he'd been seen outside Bai Lu's apartment 2 nights before the wedding, just standing there, staring up at her window. Whether it was guilt or grief, no one could tell. But what happened next sent shockwaves across the fanbase. Bai Lu released a short film online titled Maybe in Another Life. It featured a man and woman who loved each other deeply, but kept choosing different futures out of fear. The final line of the script. You didn't lose me. You just never fought for me. Fans cried. Critics applauded. But Dylan. He reportedly watched it 5 times in one night. Shen Yue's silent pain. Behind every cold photo of Dylan and Shen Yue was a woman carrying the weight of being second best. One of Shen Yue's closest friends anonymously revealed. She told me once, he doesn't hurt me. That's the problem. He doesn't feel enough to hurt me. Another friend added, she lives with a ghost. Not of someone who died, but of someone still alive, still in love with someone else. Then came the late-night moment that changed everything. The hotel room incident. 3 nights before the therapy session, Shen Yue reportedly found a handwritten letter under Dylan's pillow. It wasn't addressed to her. It read, I married someone who won't leave me. But I still ache for the one who did. If she ever asks me to come back, I will. Shen Yue never confronted him. She just folded it back and waited. The aftermath, where are they now? After the session leak, both Dylan and Shen Yue vanished from public view. Shen Yue's social media pages went dark. Her last post, a black and white photo of a cracked mirror, was deleted within hours. Dylan was spotted alone, checking into a coastal retreat rumored to specialize in emotional recovery. A hotel staff member shared. He just sat by the ocean for hours. Didn't eat. Didn't speak. Just stared. And Bai Lu. She posted a single, haunting quote. Even if you come back, the silence between us will be louder than anything you say. The industry responds. Actors. Producers. Co-stars. No one could stay silent. A well-known director who worked with all 3 said. They are all hurting. But this isn't just heartbreak, it's damage. Deep, quiet damage. Another insider added. It was always going to be Bai Lu. He just never had the courage to say it out loud. Fans divided, but emotions united. The internet exploded with divided reactions. #Justice for Shen Yue trended globally, with fans defending her pain. #Dylan Choose by flooded platforms, demanding the couple that should have been. #Protect Bai Lu also rose in popularity, calling out the emotional weight she's carried silently. But one comment stood out from the rest, a post that received over 300,000 likes. 3 people. 3 broken hearts. One truth no one could say in time. The future, what happens now? No official statements have been released. But there are whispers. Whispers that Shen Yue has quietly moved into a separate apartment. That Dylan is considering a long-term hiatus. That Bai Lu has turned down multiple roles and has begun writing again. A rumor even surfaced that Dylan tried to call Bai Lu the night Shen Yue walked out of therapy. She didn't answer. But sources say he left a voicemail. No one knows what it said. Except one studio worker, who claimed to have overheard Dylan recording it before leaving the building. I hurt someone who never asked me to stay, he said. And I stayed with someone who never asked me to leave. I'm sorry I didn't run after you. I just didn't know how to. Conclusion, love, regret, and a lesson too late. There are stories that fade away with time. And there are those that echo. Dylan Wang, Shen Yue, and Bai Lu have become symbols of what happens when love is delayed, when choices are made in fear, and when silence becomes the loudest force in the room. Maybe they will heal. Maybe they will never cross paths again. But one thing is certain, something broke in that therapy room. And its pieces are scattered across 3 hearts that once beat dangerously close. The sound of the door clicking shut behind Shen Yue echoed like a gunshot in the silent therapy room. Dylan didn't move. Not even an inch. His hands were still folded tightly in his lap, but his knuckles were white, as if he were trying to hold something inside, or stop something from leaving. The therapist finally spoke, voice low. Dylan, are you okay? He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the empty chair across from him. But then, softly, so quietly the recorder barely caught it, he whispered, "She finally said it." The therapist leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Dylan blinked, and when he looked up, his eyes weren't just wet, they were shattered. "She said what I couldn't admit to myself," he murmured. "I used her to erase Bai Lu, and I failed." Flashbacks hit him in flashes. Shen Yue standing at the altar, smiling so brightly, while he scanned the crowd for someone who would never come. Shen Yue laughing at dinner, while he replayed old voice notes from Bai Lu's phone contact still saved as always. Shen Yue crying quietly beside him at night, thinking he was asleep, while his dreams were filled with a girl he let walk away without fighting. And now, she was gone too. Meanwhile, Shen Yue didn't stop walking after she left the building. Her coat was still inside, and the rain had begun, but she walked fast, almost like she was afraid her legs would stop working if she slowed down. She passed 3 blocks before the emotions hit her. She stopped under a flickering street lamp, leaned against a cold wall, and screamed. A deep, raw sound that didn't ask for pity, only release. A taxi slowed down nearby. The driver rolled down his window, hesitated, then gently asked, "Are you okay, miss?" She looked at him, soaked, trembling, mascara bleeding down her face, and said the only words she could manage. "Can you take me anywhere but here?" Back at the therapist's office, Dylan finally stood up. He walked over to the chair Shen Yue had just vacated and sat in it, as if hoping to feel what she felt, to trace the last few seconds of her warmth. "I didn't want to hurt her," he said aloud, though no one had asked. The therapist didn't respond. There was nothing more to say. Because in that room, what broke wasn't just a marriage, it was an illusion. And illusions don't get closure. They just fade, slowly, until all that's left is a memory of something that never really existed the way it was meant to. But across the city, in another quiet room, Bai Lu's phone lit up again with a message. From Dylan. "She's gone too. Do I still have time to tell you the truth?" She stared at the screen. And didn't reply. "Not yet,"